Alright, so we're going to go into Photoshop editing here. Before we do that, let's jump over to the left hand side here of the screen and let's do a quick little walkthrough. All of these tools that you see down the left side of the screen, this is the area that we call the toolbox. All these tools are in the toolbox, and you'll notice that when I click on specific tools, what they can do changes across the top right there. Kind of picture like a hammer. You can pound a nail in, or you can pull a nail out. So that's what's happening here. When you click on the tools, it's just changing what you can do with that specific tool. So now if we come all the way across to the far right hand side, we've got a couple of different panels over here. The important one being the layers panel. If you don't have the layers panel open, then what we want to do is come up to the very tip top to where it says window and go to workspace and reset essentials. And that just basically brings everything in that you want to see. You can go ahead and pull things down, move them around, it's up to you. As with a lot of stuff in Photoshop, there's like a million ways of doing the same thing. In this video here, I'm going to just talk about the adjustment layers. Now there's, once again, two different ways of getting the adjustment layers. One of them is just clicking on this little tab that says adjustment, and it pulls up all of these different options. The other way is to come down to the very bottom to this circle, and you have all these adjustments down here. So it does the same thing. I'll give you a quick example here. If I were to click on the brightness and contrast, it pulls up that layer. I'm just going to press delete, get rid of that guy, and do the same thing. If I come up here, I can do brightness and contrast, and it pulls up the brightness and contrast. I'm going to press delete, get rid of that. So that's, once again, two different ways of doing the exact same thing. It's up to you which one you choose, which one you like best. Let's jump into this photo here and start using some of these adjustment layers. We have this photo that I took out in Moab. We've got the storm coming in and a nice red rock area here. So let's come over to our brightness and contrast, and we're just going to kind of pick up a little bit of that brightness, and then we're going to crank up some of that contrast a little bit. And if you pull it all the way over, you can see what it's doing. I obviously don't want it to go all the way over to the far side. That would just be no bueno. So we're going to crank that down just to about the 20-15% area and call it good like that. If I come down to the layers, you'll notice that it's stacking these other pages on top of my background layer. I can turn off and on the eyeball, and I can see that the changes that have been made. So here's a before, here's an after. Okay, so that's the color and contrast one. Let me jump over here to my vibrance, which is going to be a little bit more of the color poppiness. Okay, so I want to make a little bit more color, saturate, maybe just a tiny bit. So here's a before and an after. Okay, and you can just keep on going as much as you want. We've got the hue and saturation, which once again is a little bit more on the color side. If I were to push it down, pull it up, maybe I want to push it just a little bit there. You can also drag these, click on where it says master, and you get these other little pull downs. So maybe I want to play with just the reds, which will be the dirt only. And I want to push that down just a little bit. Maybe I want to try to grab the sky, grab that guy, we'll grab some blues. There we go. Kind of playing around here, keeping it kind of a natural look. Okay. So real quick, before, after, like I said, a little bit more of a natural look. Just pushing the colors a lot more, making them stand out, not so flat. So you can add as many of these adjustment layers as you want. You can even go back and add another of the same one. So maybe I want to add another contrast layer on top of the already adjusted contrast layer. It's up to you. So now I have 2 contrast layers. Okay. If I want to adjust a specific one, let's say for example, I'm going to get rid of this brightness and contrast, just going to press delete. But now I want to add that adjustment to this one. I can click on the little icon off in the middle here, double click on that, and it pulls up the adjustment. You'll notice that it brings it up regardless of which one I'm in. So maybe I want to add a little bit more vibrance and a little bit more contrast to the image. So now there's our before, there's our after. Brought out a little bit more of the red, brought out a little bit more of the sky with all the adjustments. Sometimes you can definitely go a little bit overboard. You can go super crazy. That's just nuts. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that guy. Right? Sometimes there's a specific thing that you're going for, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So that's kind of the beauty of the Photoshop, is that you're the artist. You get to choose what you want people to see and how you want them to react and what you're trying to get across. So that's kind of where we're at. We've got all these little subtle changes, but it definitely makes it a lot more impactful, interesting, and looks finished. So that's a quick overview of the adjustments panel. Once again, you can click on the bottom one, you can click on the top one. It's all up to you, whichever one you want to do. When you're done with your project, don't forget to come over to File and do a Save. And if you're going to post it to, I don't know, social media, a website, you're going to turn it in, whatever, make sure you take it out of Photoshop, save it as a JPEG. Make sure you change the name to something that you can remember, and make sure you know where you're saving it. So I've already got this saved, so I'm going to press that one, and now we are good to go. So now it's your turn. Explore the adjustments in your photos and see what you can come up with, and we'll see you in the next video.